All right. Happy Friday to everybody. Sorry for the late start there. Appreciate everybody waiting for us as we get everything set up on this side. It's a very exciting day for us. I'm joined with my good friend Bart Womack, and we're excited to be talking to you today. How you doing today, Bart?
Very good, Jeff. Always better when we're here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you've been really busy today. You've been out and about, but we also have some pretty exciting news to share with people. I put it in the announcement, but you want to tell everybody?
Well, sure, we had our first revenue event. We're a real company now.
That's pretty exciting. I was telling Bart earlier today, how many times have I gone into a business and, looked behind the small businesses, and you look behind the cash register and you see proudly displayed their first dollar bill. And I've always thought in my life, how exciting would that be to be able to have that there, that moment where you're like, hey, we did it. We're actually like making this really happen. So that is super awesome to have that now. I actually put a little thing together so that we can frame it and everything because it's a pretty big deal. But we had our first event today, which is cool. So we've gone from idea to multiple iterations of the idea and setting up the company, hiring people, and here we are, and we're actually selling product. You ever? That's amazing.
No, it's been a long journey. I mean, think about all of this came from that first time you and I presented together at Farmers in Space in LA. How many
Yeah.
how many years ago was that now?
It's like what 3, 4 years ago or something like that. I mean, it's been a
Yeah.
while.
I mean, can you believe it? Can you believe it's been like I think that was 2018. So this fall,
Yeah,
wow, Jeff, is it actually 4 years now? I
it's
think it
already
might.
four.
I think Yeah, this might be the our fourth anniversary of when we met. Would be this fall.
Yeah, that is super awesome. Where we started, where we've come from, and now here we are. And we just wanted to share that with everybody here on the Real Martian. You guys have been a critical part of this. Honestly, it probably wouldn't have happened without all the people on the Real Martian. And major thanks to Wrangler Star, obviously, for launching the channel all those years ago. And making it where we can connect with people. And yeah, I don't think I would have ever been invited to the international. I know I wouldn't have been invited to the Space Development Conference had it not been for the Real Martian channel, which then spawned the TEDx talk and us being able to meet. And here we are as Eden, and being able to actually get this all going. So super duper excited. Like I wrote the entire team, our team, Bart, our team. We have a team of
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
We have a team of people. That's pretty awesome. I wrote them this morning and said, if we were all together, because we're a remote company, but if we were all together, I would definitely be springing for the champagne and barbecue today. And I know those things don't go well with each other, but man, I tell you what, some good champagne and some good Texas barbecue. It sounds like, I mean, it would work for me. I
That
would
sounds
definitely
good to
enjoy it.
me. That sounds
Yeah.
good to me. And if you mean beer, buy champagne or whiskey, then I really am there.
Yeah, definitely. Some nice whistling pig would be okay. Yeah, you convinced me, but that's dangerous then because then it's like there's no turning back at that point. You're fully committed to that party. So yeah. Anyway, we wanted to share that with everybody. Thank you to everyone who's online, and also we want to ask people, ask questions. Today we would love Bart and I were talking about. We'd love it for you guys to just ask us questions. We really want to be here for you. These live streams are great because we can talk to you. I see Neffy is online. Neffy has actually been volunteering, helping us out on some of our software work. So Neffy, thank you so much for that. But everybody else, ask some questions, engage here. I've got some topics that I'd like to go over. And Bart, I'm sure you got some stuff, but really we want to engage you guys. We want to talk to you. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and bash that like button, as everybody is saying these days. Help us grow that like button by clicking on it. So please do that. Bart, I got a little exercise. Do you mind if I take us through a little exercise? I had this thought today,
Yeah, let's go
and
for it.
I just wanted to do something. So I'm gonna bring up my screen here. Let's see. Um, yeah. So how am I gonna do this? I need to be able to share it with you. Let's see if I don't break the internet here. Yep. So I'm gonna have to do some interesting things here. Here we go. All right, so this is a little spreadsheet that I was working on, and the exercise I wanted, I was doing it for myself. I was like, I think I feel pretty good about where my food is coming from. And as I think most people know that we really believe in food security and food freedom, food independence, right? We don't want you to be dependent on other people. That's a large part of why Bart and I are doing what we're doing. And I was sitting there going, I should see how independent I am on my food. Let me put a little bit of thought in this. So I put this little spreadsheet together, and this won't take long. But I'd encourage everybody to do this because it was kind of eye opening. And what I did, I just started off with the question: is where does my food come from? And I went with the big things. Not I didn't create the whole grocery list, but beef, chicken, eggs, pork, veggies, fruits, herbs, spices, pasta, grains. And then I also asked the question: where does my energy come from? Fuel, electricity. And what I was doing is I was trying to say: is it coming from somebody else, or does it come from me? And then if it's coming from me, what supplies do I need to make that happen? Because then you could do this exercise, all
Yeah, I
the
really
way
like that. I really,
going down.
Jeff, we should take this. We should take this and actually turn it into a tree. That's kind of like a food pyramid of self-sufficiency.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I really like because we could literally, if you just keep mapping it out and put a little bit of data in, we could send it over. We have a lot of graphic artists. We could probably get it made into a really cool graphic for like $50, $100.
Oh, that's a great point.
So
Yeah,
I love this. I love, and these are the simple kind of things for like, and then we put, feed the future on top of it. And,
I
and
like it.
now you've just created another infographic that we can, and this is exactly the kind of, knowledge that we want to be putting out into the world.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, and to tie into all this, it's really fascinating. One of our business partners, Megan and I, we're actually in the middle of purchasing some land in the country. Fingers crossed, we should be closing on it soon. And I'm moving my mom's old house is on Pier and Beam, and so we did all the calculations, and it's like we can move it from there, and it's not going to be that expensive, and we'll immediately, start setting up our own homestead. And we have other friends that live out there that we're actually buying land next to their 100-acre ranch that they have, cows and chickens. Um, so I mean, we live this. You've been doing it for years on the mountain, but I'm moving as quickly as I can to make it happen for my family, and a lot of our business partners are doing it as well. Um, so everything that we can do to just facilitate showing everyone else how they can transition.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about utilizing our grow systems. So much of it really right now is the movement of people that understand that they want to get away from the centralized systems.
Yeah.
So I think stuff like this is amazing to do
Yeah.
to
It,
help
it
other people do that.
it really opened up my eyes, Bart. I was feeling pretty good, and then I did this the first time, and I was like, I don't feel really good anymore. And I think I think you could say I'm a little more advanced in my being able to have food freedom than other people, or food independence, same than
Yeah,
others.
but doing this, you start to realize like it's the little things
Yeah,
because it's all
secondary,
the
tertiary.
it's yeah, it's the building blocks that make up the ability to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
It's and if you can be missing one block and the whole thing can start to fall apart.
Yeah, for sure. So I would like a good one here is like beef. We grow our own beef. Now the challenge with beef, of course, if you miss a year, you're 3 years away from getting your next cow. But we actually don't use antibiotics at all, and we've had healthy, really. I mean, we don't go anywhere. There's no animals around, so it's really healthy beef. We don't use grain at all. All we do is hay. We've got 20 acres plus another 15 that we're available to go on, but we still have to have hay. So I'm still dependent on somebody else. Even though I grow my own food, I still need somebody else unless I get more land and cut my own hay, which is like $50,000 worth of equipment. So that one's tough. Chicken, we actually don't. We get that from somebody else right now. We're not raising our own meat chickens yet, but this is an
Well,
area.
let me ask you this. I mean, let me ask you this. Where you're getting these things, though, are you getting them from neighbors and people and local suppliers in the area, or are you going to like big box stores to get it?
Well, like for hay, it's right down the road, so local community, and the some of the stuff coming up, we get that mostly all local. We try to avoid the Home Depots and all that as far as our supplies go. Um, but Costco certainly has the best deal on paper towels and toilet paper. You know,
Well, I mean, I've thought a lot about this, and I mean, the thing is it's probably better to everyone has to have a baseline of having all of their, you should have 1 to 3 months supply of everything that you use. Like that's your baseline. But beyond that, if you're really talking about a scenario, I've thought a lot about this where you're like out in the country, like where you're out in the countryside, you're kind of into the supply chain. Sorry.
oh,
You're
yo,
into the
donuts.
supply chain. Yeah. You're into the supply chain. I think it makes more sense for to when you're in that situation to specialize in growing or creating one or two things. So, like in your case, it would probably be, beef. And once you get like 20 grow towers growing, you pick one or two crops that you're growing in the grow towers. And then on your land, you just start to build out, orchards of whatever kind of fruit trees will grow the best there. And you start trading. I mean, I
Yeah,
really think it is
the
going to be,
community, the community.
yeah, the old, yeah, because trying to do it all on your own, you can do it, but you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars and a very, very complex network,
Yeah,
which
and a
can be
lot of
done. And I
work,
know
a
you and
lot
I
of
are
work.
going, we're going, yeah, we're going to attempt to do that. But starting off, the old model of baseline having your own supplies for 2 or 3 months at least, and then specializing in one or two things that you can trade with people.
Yeah. I just want to say to everyone, we've got 9 folks joining us right now. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. If you're brand new to this channel is about food, freedom, and independence. And we've been working on using space-based technology and trying to get figured how to how to use space-based technology to provide food and energy independence to local communities around the world. So thank you so much for joining us. I want to encourage everybody to ask your questions. Right now, Bart and I are just going over this little spreadsheet I've been putting together, and we're talking about um, how independent are we when it comes to our food supply. So thank you again for everyone joining. Please do, I encourage you to ask your questions in the chat. And don't forget to bash that like button and tell everybody that we're online right now live. So, Bart, sorry to interrupt you there. I saw we had quite a few new folks join us there. I wanted to make sure they knew what we were all about. Uh, yeah, so in going through this, basically, I'm not going to go through each line. I will say that when I got to the veggies, fruit, herbs, and spices, a lot of the herbs and spices, we're working on trying to get more of the herbs here at the house. But a lot of the spices like pepper, salt, all those types of things, um, you have to go buy from someplace. But, our grow towers, our grow walls, they can be used to grow some spices, not all of them, but some of them. And of course, your garden is always a good place. And it was interesting when I got into veggies, I was like, man, you got to buy the seeds. Obviously, you got to have seeds. Get heirloom plants. Everybody should be getting heirloom plants. But then you got to have all your irrigation supplies. That's a big deal. And you got to have your canning supplies in order to preserve them, or even a root cellar, really, to be able to store everything. Um, but when you look at fruits and fruit or trees, things that grow on trees, it's like get tree, have irrigation. So much less expensive. But some of the stuff that are fruits like strawberries or the bushy plants, we can actually grow those in the towers or in the grow walls. So those are things as well. So it was cool going through and doing this exercise and then just seeing, oh yeah, grow tower, grow tower, grow tower, grow wall, garden, obviously garden. If you're not growing your own food right now, you need to start one way or the other. Whether you go to eatandgrowsystems.com or whatever, just start growing your own food. Take a potato, put it in the window, and see how it grows. You know, just start learning, get into it because everyone needs to be doing it. But as I was going through this, you know, there's so many things that we're just dependent on other people, businesses, other businesses, to provide for us. And I really, honestly, I really started thinking it's like a lot of corporations. I think they've got that figured out, and you can see them trying to control the vertical for these different areas. Um, and it's kind of sad, you know. I was trying to think of what would be an example is like how many people have had a truly homemade pie, right? There's nothing like a homemade pie. My waistline will clearly say that I love a good pie. In fact, at our family reunion, I had Aunt Jan makes the best pies, period, and my whole family loves them, and we're all addicted to them. But what makes them so amazing is they're homemade. I mean, from scratch. It's like the dough is from scratch, and all the ingredients are all put together from scratch. And it came to me, Bart, it's like, how many people actually know how to do that anymore? How many people have had a real pie and not a Sara Lee pie? Or, hey, I went to the restaurant and they had a pie, you know? But how many people really know how to do that? And I'm blessed because my beautiful wife, Elise, she can take raw goods and turn them into the most amazing things. But how many people really know how to do that? How dependent are people on something as simple as I'm having a pie, but in order to have it, I have to go buy it from the freezer section of the store or from the, you know, from the store bakery, you know, and I mean, don't get me wrong, Costco cakes are amazing too, but you know, there's nothing like a homemade pie or a homemade cake or a brownie or anything. But you have to take a lot of raw goods. It's almost like it made me really appreciate the cooking more than I ever have because it's just like us at Eden when we take raw goods and we are turning them into a tower. You know, we're taking
Yeah.
raw goods and we're turning them into a tower, and it's really quite interesting. So I just found that to be quite insightful. I just had that mind moment this week where I was just like, wow, you know, we are so dependent on the system. Even us, still, like we're still dependent, and it just gives me that I'm not safe kind of feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean that's where it always goes back to, this movement that we're trying to create and the message that we're trying to put out into the world. I mean it's a long time ago when I first started designing my first system with Joe Matthews down here in Houston. We started off by trying to make a system that we're like, we need something that can take care of our families. We've done farming. I've done farming. I've done open air farming, and I was saying we needed an emergency system that could operate at the end of the grid, grid down scenario for the longest time possible. And very quickly, he and I realized if we're just building this for ourselves, it doesn't even matter. It has the community level solution is the only solution to our problems. And you could really argue that on every level, from political, economic. Everyone right now should be networking in their communities and working through their communities, and on every front, but specifically for food security. Food security should be the number one priority in every community in the country. And if it was, we could create a food system that would be unbelievably resilient. It wouldn't matter what was happening with the weather. But again, it's not going to happen that way. It's going to happen in pockets here and there, but it's going to happen from motivated people getting together and networking in their communities.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the lone wolf survival idea, you know, that you're out there on your own and you're able to do all these things by yourselves. Um, I'm not
It's a
seeing
pipe
that.
dream.
Yeah, it's
It's a
not
pipe dream.
viable. It's totally,
If you're a
totally.
billionaire, if you're a billionaire and you can go get an island and have your like James Bond fortress, like maybe, maybe, and then all you have to
Yeah.
worry about are your security people turning on you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
the
Yeah.
the the only
Can I
the
trust
only
them?
way out of this. the only way out of this for any of us is community. And so, whatever community you have access to that you're a part of, you should be doing everything in your power to make that community strong and self-sufficient. And
Yep.
that is the prescription for everything that is about that we're having to deal with that's going wrong right now.
Yeah, definitely. Even our towers, the systems, the hab, the life pod, the grow walls, everything that we're doing at Eden comes back to our mission. Provide sustainable food and energy independence to who? To local communities and families around the world, and someday off of it, right? It's that local community, and families are micro communities to themselves. So it's bringing community back into this equation rather than saying I can just go get it at the store. I fear, I know I'm guilty of, so I guess this is where it comes from, throwing myself under the bus, is I've become too lazy. I'm too lazy. I can go to the store, I can get what I want, and I don't need to worry about it. Why? Because I got other things I want to spend my time on. Why go fix fence to keep the cows in when I've got all this other stuff I need to go do, right? Raising animals is hard. Why would you want to take that burden on? Well, sit down and do that little spreadsheet like what I was doing is figure out how many things you depend on somebody else for and then ask yourself, are they dependable? Can I trust this system? Can I trust this store? Can I trust my neighbor to always have hay? Can I trust that this is going to be there? What happens if they get sick? Not that that would ever be a thing. What happens if I can't go buy things because I'm not part of the cool crowd? Wink, wink. So, how secure am I in my food, and do I have that community where I can trade, where I can grow food? Do I even have the skills to be able to go do these things? I know for me, living out here has forced me to either relearn some things or just flat out learn brand new things that need to be done. Um, I can talk your ear off about fencing. We won't get, and I'm not talking about with swords. I'm talking about fence. Man, having animals is all about fence, man. Bad fence equals no animals. So, let's see here. We have some comments. Let me read those real fast. Uh, okay. Neffy liked our little spreadsheet thing and turning it into an app. So that's not a bad idea. Kind of putting it up into the
The
apps
roadmap to freedom.
there. Ooh, I like it. The roadmap to freedom. Is that a thumbnail or what?
Yeah.
Uh, okay. Neffy also he said it to the world, so I'm pretty sure we can say it. He loves to watch the cooking shows, and then he likes to go order takeout. That's awesome, Neffy. Uh, 12 pack. I do deep water culture and have found that nanobubble aeration has much faster uptake than regular standard air bubbles. That is interesting. I also run my nutrient recirculation through rare earth magnets. I presume that's because you're changing the ionization of uh, the nutrient solution for additional uptake. Is that
So
the idea?
that's awesome. Remember, I've been talking about that for years too, that we want to use ionizers because it's just all the research shows that nutrient uptake and plant vitality is higher when you ionize the water.
Yeah. That is something we'll definitely have to look at. And the regular standard air bubblers, yeah, we use air bubblers for aeration. In fact, we had one go down and saw the DO change, the dissolved oxygen change quite a bit. We're able to track that down quickly with the sensors. So micro aeration. Shoot us a link there, 12 pack, TRM at TheRealMartian.com, or put it in the chat here. I'd love to see what part you're using there. That's very interesting. Off Grid Empire was quoting you, Bart. The only way out of this is community, end quote. I literally think that every day and have put my efforts into loving thy neighbor. Boy, isn't that the truth? Loving thy neighbor, especially for us, the further out you get, the more you like your privacy and your independence. But you really do need to have your neighbors and everyone set up there and talking to them, getting to know them. That's something I
You
need
know,
to do a
you know
better
who's
job
gonna,
of.
who's totally gonna thrive in these times. You know who's about to just be 100% fine no matter what happens?
Hmm.
The
Who?
Amish.
Oh, well,
The
yeah, they
Amish.
That's what was it? Somebody said, "Why is there no COVID in the Amish community?" And you know what the who was it that said that? I forget. They gave an
I don't know.
answer.
I saw that meme too. Yeah,
They're
they
like,
have no
because we don't
television.
turn on the news. That's awesome. Ain't that the truth? Yeah, they're not
But I
gonna
mean, no,
be.
it's just they really are the perfect model. They're totally focused on their community, on helping each other. Like there was a when we were talking about community, there was a meme I saw where it was showing a barn moving, and it was like maybe 100 Amish men picking up a 3-story barn and just walking it across a field together.
That's amazing. That is
I mean,
amazing.
that's just looking at that picture, I was like, that's it. Those people got it.
Yeah.
And it's like if we can take that and kind of create those kind of communities using with high technology for decentralized and easy growing. I mean, man, just imagine that. Imagine, Jeff, if you were living out where you're living now and the 20 farms all around you were utilizing our systems, and each farm was specializing in its own crop, and everyone was just trading with each other.
That'd be awesome.
I'm pretty sure you could go through that list and get most of that list taken care of much faster.
Yeah. Definitely having that community is super duper critical, and I think it's something that we're all going to be rediscovering if we haven't already. And it's probably a big part of why we see everybody leaving the cities. Is people people with one of these are sitting there going, I can't do what I need to do here. I this is not okay. What's going on? I need to go figure out a different way of doing things. And seeing them come out of the city and into the other communities is going to be interesting. Of course, how they integrate, if they do integrate, um, or not. But community is definitely critical to the future of what we got going on. So hey, I got a headline here. Let me share a headline. There we go. Oh, and you need to be able to see it. I got to do all this like Command Central here. So here's the headline: Beyond Food Deserts. That's not desserts, folk. That's food deserts. America needs a new approach to mapping food insecurity. Kind of an interesting
Ooh,
thing from the
can you
Brookings
send that to
Institute.
me? I'd love to write a blog on that.
Yeah. It talks about food security before COVID, food security after COVID, and how people in the city, I guess that's probably a good example right there, is you, there's no place to grow food. So everything, we're just talking about this, right, in the uh, conversation we're just having, that spreadsheet is, how dependent are you on somebody else? Well, these guys in these food deserts, they're 100% dependent on somebody else to bring in food in boxes and give it to them. There's no growing going on there. Makes me think, Bart, if we could get our systems into these food deserts, then, these people standing in line, they won't have to stand in line for everything. They could have back at their house one of our towers or four of our towers going for, I think, four towers, which takes up the space of a queen size bed. If they're double deckers, will grow enough food for one person every day. So if a family of four is sharing that, that's, a quarter of your meals, quarter of your budget is taken care of there. That's a lot of
Or if they
veggies.
have if they have a garage, if they have a garage in a house, you can do 16 towers in your garage. I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
getting ramped up to food security is, and then you have some chickens in the backyard, and you're done. I
Yeah,
mean, there's plenty of variety that we all want, but at that point, you like between the scraps and the insects in the yard, your chickens will produce. You get 4 or 5 chickens, you'll have, but depending on the breed that you have, you can have 6 to 8 eggs, every 2 days. So I
absolutely.
mean, you're talking about enough protein, and you can be growing more chickens. I mean, there's it's I was worried about that when we were talking about the beginning about, the truth is, to be completely self-sufficient, to have all of the supplies necessary to keep that system going, you're going to need to do something bigger than your house. And that was the point of that. But to get a baseline system where you're supplying your own food, and your chickens are supplying for you, that's not that hard. to get to that point. The biggest bottleneck of resource management you're going to run into with that are going to be your minerals. What kind of
Yep.
minerals you're introducing into the system to get maximum growth for your plant. And so minerals, fertilizers, um, that's that's where it gets tricky. And that's honestly one of the long-term things that we're even working at here at Eden, is to solve those problems as well.
Yeah.
Because we do want to get to the point that we can create a system that's 100% self-sufficient, or if that's unattainable, at least something that can go many, many years without having to have outside inputs. But as of right now, it's those little elements going into the system, so it's like, if you're trying to be fully self-sufficient, on a big farm, like what Jeff is doing, what I'm trying to do, there really are many layers of supplies that you have to have, inputs going into your farm, but you're creating a lot more at that point. You're creating, your outputs are enough to be supplying, cows and chickens and pork, and everything else that you're growing in your system. But for you to just be in a city, let's say you live in the suburbs of Houston, Texas, like I do right now, and you just want to be able to take care of yourself, um, it's about, depending on how big your family is, it's about a garage.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just make one last point in conjunction with all this. Wherever you are at, whatever size and whatever resources you have to start approaching your situation as if your living space is a spaceship. And you have to ask yourself, do you have the supplies in your spaceship to be able to survive? And the more complex you get with that, the deeper you dig into that, the more you will become adept at supplying for yourself and having supplies for yourself. Jeff and I have been working at this many years. And so I do worry that, it might even be intimidating to people. But the fact is it's not hard to start. And you can get 80 to 90% of yourself covered very quickly by having a couple of weeks, then months of supplies, and then having systems like this. You don't have to be a millionaire to get on the pathway to doing this. And even if you're only able to supplement and have one tower in your home, well, now you have 25%, of your food for you that's coming, that's going to be organic, high nutrient, high quality food for you to be adding into your diet. So, I mean, it's just, it all begins somewhere. That's the most important thing for people to understand, is that they can do
Yeah.
this.
Just get
You
started.
can do this.
Just get started.
Exactly.
That's what it's about. Just get going on it. Don't wait. Don't get, what is that called? Analysis paralysis, right? That's the thing that I could fall into. You don't need to sit there and wait for all these things to happen, or just make it happen. Just get going. Get going on it.
Well, and get good at one thing. There are going to be people, as there's shortages and problems in places, we talk about total self-sufficiency, but, you learn how to grow one really good thing. There's a friend of mine that I have been trying so hard to get involved with us, that she lives out in the mountains in Tennessee, Jeff. And she lives up in the mountain with her like 7-year-old son. And over the last 2 or 3 years living up there, she's taught herself all about, forest harvesting.
Mm-hmm.
And she just goes into the forest she lives next to like a couple of 100-acre forest on top of the mountain that's just public land. And she goes out into the forest, and the pictures she takes of the harvests of just naturally growing mushrooms and grasses and lettuces and vines and berries that are growing out there, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and she's self-taught herself that, and just has accessed her environment. Here behind where I live at, there are blackberry bushes that grow for miles. I mean, miles along trails that in the summertime, you can just walk along the trails and just pick blackberries all summer long. So, there are so many different avenues of just becoming an expert at something that is creating something, some aspect of life, whether it's learning what's in the forest around you, or if you're in a food desert, getting on a payment plan even, and getting one of these systems. Soon we'll have the smaller systems so that people can do small modular grows and grow up from that. But it really is what Jeff's saying. It's about finding some way of getting involved, picking something, and making it happen.
Yeah, just get going. I got one last article here. I'm going to pull up, and I see we're pretty much out of time. Thank you, everybody who's joined on. Now's the time to start writing all your comments down. Nidel, thanks for being here. Let's see here. All right, flip screens. Here's the screen. Oh, and there's the area, or the radio for our area. Okay, so here, this article is from JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Pasadena, California. Very beautiful place if you've ever been there. Been there once. Got to see their little Mars simulator that they have. But they've got this article, Improving Food Security Through Capacity Building. Just came out, was it 2 days ago? And this article is about using space-based assets to monitor the land and figure out how well the land is doing and performing so that we can get more capacity out of it. So kind of an interesting
Do they
idea.
mention do they mention StatShot? That was literally when I was just at the Space Ag conference when I was presenting at the Startup Brew, that audio blog is available at our I think it's on our LinkedIn page and my LinkedIn page if you go to look for Eden Grow Systems. But the other company that was presenting, this is exactly what they do. And they've been doing it. He's a very successful company that had been doing it since the mid 80s. That they monitor, because they're able to monitor what crops are doing well, what areas are doing well, what areas they can map it all and analyze it over time. And it's actually more efficient even than drones, even though there are a lot of drone companies now that do that, because they can do wider, faster, and it's actually cheaper because of the volume.
Yeah, larger swaths of land. The thing that made me, I come from the aerospace industry, obviously. I come from my background in the Air Force. I did satellites. I worked at the National Reconnaissance Office. I worked with the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. I got to go to the CIA. I didn't work there. I just got to go there. Kind of an interesting Jack Ryan moment for me. But the satellites are awesome. But the thing that it made me think of in the context of the spreadsheet that I was doing earlier is, do I want my food system being dependent on satellites to get what I need? And I don't want to make this bigger than what it is. Having these satellites and using these is clearly a good thing.
Well, no. Again, it just goes to the whole thing. It's like at the Space Ag conference. All the technology right now, the way it's being deployed, it's great. It's going to create more abundance, more efficiency, but it's all going to do that with more centralization.
Yeah,
which
you have
means
to have
that
the big guys
smaller
to do
and
it.
smaller, smaller and smaller groups will control larger and larger sections of the food supply. And there's just some of us that don't think that's healthy and don't think that's good and want to try to do something different.
Exactly. Well said. That was the feeling I got. It was like, cool, JPL, great job, JPL, good job using these things to help the planet. I think that's all really, really positive. But the implications here are, here's yet another area where the government is required in order for me to, get better at what I'm doing. And I just don't like having that much dependence on the system. I want to have food freedom. I want to have independence. I want to know that if push comes to shove, we can do this on our own within our own communities, that we don't have to have these ginormous support mechanisms from space, that are quite honestly a little fragile. One good coronal burst and those satellites are gone.
Yeah, you create these massive systems that are all regulated. It's just like the trains. You have one pipeline go down, you have one train get stuck, you have one ship get stuck in the Suez Canal, and now all of a sudden you have a cascading failure that just goes across the entire. It's all because it's over optimized, it's over centralized and over optimized, and that makes it perform better and better than anything we could ever imagine. But it also makes it far more susceptible to disruption.
Yep. So with that, I think we're a little over our time today, but it was a really good conversation. I want to give Bart the floor here for his closing thoughts, and I'll give you mine. But while I'm doing that with Bart, why don't you all put your questions in the chat? I don't see any new questions that are coming up here. Really appreciate everybody. Neffy, 12 Pack, Off Grid Empire, Nidal, thank you everybody for being with us. We're not done yet. I just want to say thank you and put your comments in the chat so that we can get to them. We really want to have engagement with you guys. So line us up with those questions. Bart, what are your closing thoughts here?
I'm just excited for us to enter the next phase, when we can really start showing people what we're doing. Right now it's all behind the curtain, and the unveiling will come soon. But being able to show, and really, I'm really excited about our Feed the Future initiative. We've got a lot of candidates in there that are getting to use the technology first, and we're getting to see what their experiences are like with that. So it's just every week we become more real. That's what's exciting, and just the people that are on the journey with us. It's such an honor to be here with all of you, and you, Jeff.
Yeah, Bart, it is pretty awesome seeing it come together. I don't see any questions that came up, but I see 12 pack. We cannot rely on the big government. Amen to that. I think we're all starting to see that come through. I want to say thank you to everybody on Team Eden for making it possible for Bart and I to do this. Without you guys, we would not have the time to even be able to be here and share. So thank you for everybody on the team. Thank you to all of our friends and family who've made this day, this special day, very important. If you're just joining us towards the end here, then you may not have heard me say that today is our first revenue event at Eden. We actually recognize our first revenue today from a customer. So it's very exciting. And without our family, without our friends that have supported us and believed in us, this would not even be possible. Thank you to our investors directly. Also, wouldn't be possible without you. And thank you to the board and to our advisors who also have guided us and made this all possible and helped shape everything. A big day for Eden. I hope everybody has a fantastic day out there. We really appreciate you being here. Don't forget to go over to Facebook. Check us out there. Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Now we're over there. And we're getting more and more stuff, as Bart said, set up every day. It's becoming more and more real, a lot more things. But we'd love it if you would go to edengrowsystems.com and sign up to be part of Feed the Future. And if you want to be part of it within Feed the Future, you could also be an early adopter. And you can actually sign up to get one of our towers right now today. We are accepting orders. And we are processing orders now. So I got to go get to work. Thank you, everybody, for being here. This is Bart and the Real Martian.